Remember about 6 months ago when I bought Rumble because of the money that was potentially going to go into the primary? And then we saw it run about 15, 20%. We scaled out of it, and then it started falling. We've been buying little bits on the way down. Well, guess what? Yesterday, Iowa results came out. Trump number 1, DeSantis surprisingly number 2, Haley number 3, Vivek number 4 dropped out immediately endorsed Trump. I'm 100% sure that his team called Vivek's team and said, "Hey, listen, drop out, endorse us now. We'll give you a job if he gets elected." That's what his plan was the whole time, and so he's out. But $110 million was spent on advertising in Iowa alone for a primary. A primary in which one person is garnering, without even going to a debate or showing up, is garnering 50% of the vote already. It is unheard of. Nikki Haley, 50 million of that 110 alone. There is an ungodly amount. They are expecting as much as $10 billion on campaign spending on the primary. On a primary, not on a general, a primary to go through. We know that Meta has already gotten rid of a lot of political advertising. X will be available to some people. You don't have a lot of places. So that means numbers are going to have to go somewhere. They want to break up that base, right? They want to break up the young voter base who they think is just going to vote for Trump. They want to get them to vote for other people. So they're going to put money. They're going to put money into some of these places. I still think Rumble's one of them. That's why I've been buying the dip. We talked about Rumble this morning on the upside. And so we played DWAC, but DWAC is Truth Social, right? It's just basically, look at Comcast go. STLA going too. It's just basically, a very exclusive amount or inclusive, I should say, whatever, group of people that are only there because of Trump alone. But Rumble has all of the people that it's like streaming platform for conservative people as well. And so, especially younger people, and that's who they want to target. And so I thought, and I still think, that going into the primaries, especially if DeSantis is somewhat still relevant, that the money's going to go. I told you guys that I thought this might end up being one of the most expensive ad campaigns of a primary ever, and it looks like we were right about that. Does the money go where we think it's going to go? I don't know that yet, but it looks like we were right about the amount of money. And here's Rumble right now today. We're already at 9, almost 10%. So here we are. Obviously, we got a long way to go from our original entry buy and sell. That's what we originally bought, sold here. And then we sold a little bit more when we got to the second level at $5 even right here. And then we've been buying on the way down for the past couple weeks. And so we're trying to do this. I'm looking at this to come back to $5 by the end of the primary season. I don't know if it will, but we'll take a look at it. Why do they even bother sticking around and wasting money? Well, they're not wasting their money. It's other people's money. And the reason is because they want to, it gives them a lot of relevancy. When you actually, because here's the thing, if you stick around, okay, here's how it works, okay? So for those you people that are from another country or from outside U.S. politics. So we have a system that everyone loves until it doesn't work in their candidate or their party's favor, then they hate it, right? And then it's the other way around, right? It doesn't, it's how it is. So you'll see it all the time. Like I remember, you'll see one party get pissed off the electoral college because their candidate won the popular vote, but then you go back to an election from 20 years ago and their candidate won the electoral, but the other candidate won the popular, and then they were like, oh, it's because the electoral. It's like it's how it is, right? But the reason that we're set up this way is that we are the United States, right? United, and a lot of people hate this, but they don't understand why we have what we have, right? We are states. So the way this country was founded is we wanted everyone to have an equal say, right? Because it came from the UK and from monarchy where one guy and the barons had all the power, and it didn't matter if, a population of in one area of England had 1,000 people and another had 10,000 in the city. If you in London wanted something and wanted to raise taxes for yourself, all the other people were they had no say because it was a popular thing, right? And it was also by power. So they said, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to make each individual state its own state. And collectively, they are the United States of America. So each state gets its own say. Now, obviously, times have changed and we could always update it, but that's how it was said. So you want to give, at least in an equal amount of weight based on certain things. So when it comes to electoral college, it's a little bit different, but people are upset because they'll say, well, a state with 39 million people gets, 60 electoral votes, and a state with 1 million gets 4 electoral votes, right? if that's the case, then they should get, this state should get 150 because it should be equal by population. But our founding fathers didn't want that because they were worried. So either way, I'm not here to argue electoral college or whatnot, but the reason I'm bringing the electoral colleges is there's this thing called delegates, right? And so each state gets amount of delegates, it goes in, and then those delegates then vote, and that's how the president is done. So popular vote accounts for electoral, but each state gets a little bit more weight. They're a little bit more weighted on the bell curve, and so they get a little bit more say than they would if it was just straight population. The reason during primaries that you see candidates stick around is they collect these electoral votes, right? And so if you have one guy, let's say you need, I'm just going to throw a number out there. Let's say you need 200 electoral votes for your party's nomination. And you're collecting them along the way, but there's 2 or 3 other people in there, and they're collecting, you might collect, 11 EVs, and this guy might collect 2, this might collect 1. That seems like nothing. But as the longer they stay in and the more people drop out, the more they collect. And they might get to a point where they collect just enough to where you only have outright 195, and let's say they have 60. Well, guess what? You don't have enough for your party's vote. All of a sudden, this person becomes a really fucking important person because they own those electoral votes. They can give those votes to whoever they want because people voted for them, and that's their votes. And he says, okay, well, I'm going to endorse so-and-so. So what they'll do is either try to stop them along the way or have them give up their votes. Now, how do you do that? You offer them something. You say, okay, if I become president, I'll make you my vice president, which normally doesn't happen. That's usually the party that does that, Democratic or Republican. Or what they'll do is they'll say, I'll make you an ambassador to so-and-so. Why is that so important? Because when you're the ambassador to Ireland, that seems like a job, right? No, it's not. That's a fucking great job. Because your job is to make Ireland's life a lot better by going and whispering in the ear of the president to help us with tariffs or taxes or whatever that could lead to a $20 billion trade deal. Well, guess what? You think that you as the ambassador are doing that for free? No, you just tell them, no, fuck off. Nah. Little backdoor deal says, hey, listen, do me a favor, okay? Go talk to the president, go talk to the cabinet and get them to sign this thing that lowers our tariffs and saves us, $5 billion a year. And then when you're done, a few companies over here that need a board member, salary pays a couple $1 million a year, will definitely think you have the qualifications to maybe take one of those board positions. And if they're worried about conflict of interest, they'll just say, well, we also have a sister branch of our company in the U.S. that needs a board position. And that's why everybody loves it, because you set yourself up. If not, you get a book deal, you get your name recognition, you get to become a candidate again for another presidential run, you get a speaking slot on a news program. A lot of backdoor deals are done. That's how politics. Why do you think every politician goes in, even ones that aren't rich, they're making $165,000 a year, and then 10, 15 years later, they're worth $35 million? How does that, in 10 years, in 20 years, you'd be worth $3.5 million. Instead, you're worth $50 million. You think that's being a politician is like being a cop. A lot of people go in with the right idea, thinking I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to be a hero. I'm going to make change. But then the longer they're in there, they realize, man, I could do that, but if I just go along and stick around, it's going to work out a lot better for me. I mean, look at Yellen, right? She went from Federal Reserve chair to then leaving Federal Reserve and doing speaking engagements for $250,000 a piece, and then going to the heading the Treasury Department. Because the way of making money is not, you don't have to be openly corrupt. If you're a dumbass senator from New Jersey who's got fucking gold bars from some people in Egypt that turns out that was also involved in a crime, then you're just an idiot. And you know why that happens? It's the same reason people always get caught. Think of it like a cheater, right? Or a thief, whatever. They do it once or twice and they don't get caught. So then they start getting sloppy. They don't hide their tracks as much because they're like, oh, I got away with it. Well, this is not a big. And then they get sloppier. They go bigger. They try for more. And then at some point, they either get caught because they weren't, being, as careful, or they get to a point where they don't care if they get caught, or they almost want to get caught, right? Because it's just boring. It's almost like they need a new thing, right? Same thing with some of these politicians or some of these people. They just get so, used to scamming the system and doing so much that they just get comfortable and they go bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually they get caught. So this always happens. Your idea is to gain popularity, okay? Become outrageous. If you know you're not going to win, become outrageous enough to where your name gets elevated and you're a guest on every talk show. And the more you're out there, the more people recognize your name, the more votes you get. Even if you're getting 10% of the votes, that gives you bargaining power, which then gets you official job, which gives you lifetime of money. Rinse and repeat. Because here's all you have to do. You don't have to the old way of doing it was, I do something for you, you give me a suitcase full of money. That was great back in the 40s and 50s, back when every detective was like, you know, these streets ain't what they used to. It's cold moving in. Honey, come in. Shut up, toots. Streets are dangerous. I don't know what I'm doing right there. Okay, this isn't how that works anymore. And then with RICO laws in the 80s and 90s, that changed. But you know what's not illegal? Getting paid speaking engagement fees. It's very simple. End of the year, large corporation has a lot of money to blow. They always blow their marketing and advertisement money budget at the end of the year. And they can justify it by saying, this person was once the ambassador to, I don't know, Easter Islands, okay, or something. And we are a business-related company. And this person has experience in international negotiations and trade agreements, which is directly something that our business does. So therefore, we're going to pay them $250,000 to come speak. Nobody's fucking listening to what they have to say. It's a wash. It's a bribe. It's a hey, you got my back, I got your back. Easy, okay? So to answer your question, before I go any further in this rabbit hole, that's why these guys stick around. Because it will get them more bargaining power at the table. And it will get them jobs. It will get them, you know, look at Pete Buttigieg, right? He won Iowa. And he was actually doing pretty good. And then it started turning into the South where, you know, more of those states had voted for Obama, which means Biden was going to get it by name recognition, and he was falling further behind. Now, he could have stuck out the race and collected more votes, but Biden's team probably went to him and said, hey, listen, if you drop out now, turn your votes over to us and then not take votes away from us going down the line because we're fighting up against Bernie or whatever right now, or whoever the second place was at the time, we'll give you a cabinet position. And this dude was like, well, if I don't step out, I'm not going to win the nomination. I'll be blacklisted from the DNC because I didn't give in, and I'll never have a career in politics ever again. And I'm not going to win the nomination. Or I could step out and get a really fucking cushy job working for the DOT where there's a lot of backroom deals that are done. And then even if Biden gets, you know, elected out after one term, I'm set the rest of my life because I hooked up a bunch of very powerful, very large companies and did a lot of different, you know, international agreements. I've got friendships with Mexico and Canada and all these big companies. I'll be sitting on their board and getting speaking engagement fees forever. Or I'll write a book and one of these companies will pre-buy a million copies or whatever. You see what I mean? Okay, moving on. What is this? Lightsaber in my pocket. Okay, you sick.